Hello everybody, my name is Blake Summers.
And I'm Peyton Worthington. Today we're going to be talking to you about the CAT 320 Next Gen Excavator, a 20-ton earth-moving piece of equipment.
Let's get right into it.
Hi guys, let's dive right into the CAT 320 Next Gen Excavator. So opening up our first hatch here, this is going to just go ahead and be our cabin air filter. Easily accessible in case you need to change that out. And from the ground level too. Opening up this next compartment, you're going to notice first and foremost this door lock. This is going to make it easily able to hold itself open in case any kind of wind or anything like that if you're having to be in here working around. So you'll notice also very open, this is going to be in order to reduce the time it takes a technician or any kind of repair serviceman to get to certain pieces of the equipment. So all the way back here we can start. This is going to be our battery. It's a 24-volt battery. Up here is going to be our primary air filter for the excavator, and it just clips on and off right here, so it's pretty easy to get in and out of and maneuver. Over here is going to be our windshield wiper fluid, just our washer fluid. So a big thing about CAT is they want you to have ground level visibility on your levels. So you can actually see right here, I'm not standing on anything else, I'm just standing on the ground. We're right in between the minimum and the maximum, which is a really great place to be. You can go ahead and close this. Going ahead and moving on to this next compartment. Once again, you're going to notice that door latch as well. This is going to be our master power switch. You can turn that on and off pretty easily from the ground. Now this is going to be all our coolant, our coolers. So for the coolers, you're going to notice that they're pretty spread out. Instead of just being layered up like a normal piece of equipment would, they're spread out in a certain way in order to reduce the downtime you might have if a technician's having to work on it. It's going to be a lot more accessible to get to the ones in the back rather than having to pull out a lot more in front of it. You'll also notice they're designed in a way with these kind of grid gates in front of them. This is going to help to minimize the debris that's coming in. Over here is going to be our coolant. Once again, I'm on the ground level, and you can see from here that it's falling in between the minimum and the maximum, which is really great. That I'm not having to climb up and go onto a second level or a third level just to see, where I'm at on that particular fluid. So closing this door just a little bit, I do want to bring some attention to this door itself. So if you'll notice on this gate, it's kind of got a grade here with a bunch of very small circles. So these circles were designed by CAT in a certain way to maximize airflow and minimize debris that's going into it, which is a really great benefit and feature for an operator because it's going to minimize your repair costs and minimize how often you're having to get it repaired because there's not as much blocking going on inside of it, but it's still going to have maximum airflow. Coming around to the back here, this is going to be one of our 4 cameras that's located on the 320 Next Gen Excavator. So there is a total of 4 cameras, and I'm going to point them out as we go along. There was one right above where we were just working over there on the left side, but it's a little bit more visible on this side, so I wanted to point it out back here. So with these 4 cameras, it's going to give a full 360 bird's eye view for your operator while in the cab. So instead of having a blind spot like you would on some typical past equipment, this Next Gen Excavator is going to give you full 360 view on what you're working around. Coming over here for just a second, I want to show you the counterweight. So if you'll notice this back end over here, it kind of protrudes out a little bit more. This is going to be a counterweight for when you're having to work on the front end. When you're doing that hydraulic arm, if it's fully extending, you're going to want some counterweight to add a little bit more stability when you're working, and that's what this is for. All right, guys, so now that we're back on this side of the piece of equipment, I'm going to go ahead and open up this next compartment. If you notice, once we're in here, once again, we did have that safety feature, that door lock, as well as there is another one of those bird's eye 360 cameras for you. So now that we're in here, this is going to be our hydraulic compartment. So up here, this is going to be our after treatment and our emissions that we'll talk about in just a minute. But for now, let's just dive right in. So this is going to be our hydraulic pump, and this is where you can go ahead and put any type of hydraulic fluids or oils you might have there. Speaking of oil, so for this, we actually have an industry first on the CAT 320 Next Gen, which is a dipstick. You can actually check your oil level from ground level. So actually the most dangerous part of an operator's day is when he's getting on or off of the piece of machinery. So hopefully by this industry first of getting able to check your oil level from ground level, we're able to, as CAT, reduce that kind of injury. Lastly, I just want to pay mine over here. So it's going to be your fuel water separator right here, and this is going to just be your fuel filter. And then I'm going to close this door. So right here we've got our tracks. So our tracks have a draw bar pull of 40,000 tons, 40,000 pounds, and then a maximum speed of 3.5 miles per hour. Now, another feature here is you're going to notice there's 3 points of contact for where you can climb up right here. This is just going to be able to maximize the safety components you have for having points of contact for getting on and off the piece of equipment. Now, also right here, you also have an option for customizing for the specific operator's needs. So you can actually get some rubber padding to go on top of these tracks for if an operator wants to customize for a particular terrain that he or she might be working with. And then we can go ahead and climb up right here. And we're going to go ahead and check out our fuel. All right, so this is going to be where you can add your fuel. So the fuel tank on this piece of equipment is going to be 98 gallons large, and it's also going to burn on a typical payload around 4 to 5 gallons per hour, which is pretty good and very good for fuel efficiency in its size class. Now, moving up to here, if you'll look up here, this is going to be our CAT DEO ULS, which is just similar to DEF fuel in the sense that it is mainly for carbon emission and limiting our footprint on our environment. And then you can go ahead and check the level right there as well without having to maneuver in and out or anything too crazy. Now, if you'll just follow me up to the engine, we can look at that next. So opening up our engine, so the CAT engine here is 172 horsepower, and it's a C4.4 twin turbo engine. And you can go ahead and pan into there. It's a pretty nice engine there. And then you can also kind of see over here, this is the back side of those coolers that we were looking at earlier. And then the coolant is up here as well if you ever need to top that off. And we can go ahead and close this up. All right, guys, so now that we're back down here on the ground, I wanted to pay one attention to the actual way that the stairs are sculpted, which is actually something that was intentional by CAT. So if you'll notice, it's actually going to grant a little bit more visibility from the cab. So rather than having to rely fully on those 360 bird's eye cameras, there's actually going to be some actual visibility that you can just turn your head as an operator and see down these stairs to what's kind of over here and what would typically be a blind spot. So opening up our last compartment, this is going to be our DEF fuel, or our diesel exhaust fuel fluid. And then you can actually see right here, so this is where we're going to fill it up if you need anything. But right here, another CAT first, like I'm talking about, is ground level viewing on your level. So actually there's this little floating ball in here, and that'll tell you where your fluid's at inside this. So right there, you're over your minimum line, you're doing pretty good. So the purpose of this fluid right here is to limit your emission and our kind of carbon footprint that we've got going on in the world when you're using it around it. So this is going to just go ahead and overall reduce the footprint you're leaving behind on where you're earth moving. So now looking up here, this is going to be on your excavator, your main pull. This is going to be your hydraulic arm and bucket. So the hydraulic arm has got a bunch of different features on it. So you'll notice the hydraulics are over here. This is going to be what actually powers your pull and your pickup of the arm. And then you'll also notice up there is one of our headlights. There's a total of 5 headlights on this machine. There's one right here, one on each side of the arm, and one on each side of the cabin itself. So over here, you're going to see our standard bucket. So there are different attachments that we'll touch on a little bit later. But right here, this is our standard bucket, which is going to be 1.56 cubic yards. And it's going to carry roughly 3,000 to 4,000 pounds of dirt if you were to look at that in a dirt aspect. And that's going to be your standard. Obviously, you can pick up a little bit more if you decide to go on a little size up on your bucket size. And then overall, this is going to be 4.7 to 13 tons as a lift. And that's a pretty big range, but it's because of also your attachments and also what you're kind of trying to pick up. And that's also made possible because of that counterweight that we were talking about earlier. That's going to keep you a little bit stable. Now, also, the last thing I want to talk about really numbers-wise is if you were to fully extend this arm, this hydraulic, you're going to be looking at a length of about 32 feet. But if you're wanting to dig under you, if you're trying to, dig a trench or anything that might be below ground level, we're going to be seeing about a 22-foot extension down. So that's going to be 22 feet below where you would be scooping at. And that's pretty much it. So we're going to go ahead and hop into the cab now.
All right, welcome back. We're going to start talking about this cab on this beautiful 320. As you can see, we have some real pretty glass here, laminated, impact resistant, all the way around the slab. Gets up to the sunroof up there as well. This is a cool addition that we make here at Yancey. It's fabricated in our shop. An extra layer of protection from limb or debris. You can also see it up on the top, covering our sunroof and the top of our machine. We can walk over here, open this door. Peyton mentioned earlier that the 320 comes with a 360 view up on the screen, but also, as you can see, the operator can look out the window pretty much in any direction and see his surroundings. So we'll go ahead and hop up here, 3 points of contact. So we're up in the cab here. One little additional safety feature I'd like to point out. Got an emergency stop down here. But since we get up in the cab, have a lot of room to get in. Once we get in, this lever will unlock the door right here. And we can swing it around, get that thing closed. Stick it back in there for now. But as you can see, lots of room, very comfortable for the operator. This is specific to CAT as well. This system right here will not let you start the machine unless you lock it into place. But it also gives you some extra room to get in and out of the machine, which is nice. But let's get right into the screen and some of our functions. So this is the operator view inside the cab of this 320. You can see we got 2 footrest areas right here, separate to where you would steer this thing. So you can either steer it with your hands or your feet. This pedal off to the right side, it's the same thing that this little dial does right here. It controls your RPMs if you want to speed up, slow down, etc. We have some air vents over here up on the side, keep you nice and cool or warm. We turn around, we have some more vents on each side, 2 electrical panels, 1 on each side. Good storage with a manual, 2 extra ports back here. One thing that's really neat about this 320 is we have sunshades up on the back and on the top. Back turned around here. As you can see, very roomy, very comfortable. CAT prioritizes operator comfortability. You can even move these armrests up, give you some extra elbow room, allow you to get to your 12-volt port and your aux and additional USB port down here. We're going to go ahead and power this thing up. So we have the rear view camera. This camera is off to my right side right now. Right here says guest, factory bucket, fast. So as an operator, you can set up an account. So it'd say Blake, whatever attachment we have on there. Currently have a factory bucket and how you want your joystick set up. As well as you can customize these buttons here on the front, these dials, and the 2 buttons on the back to whatever you like. We'll go ahead and click OK here. So as you can see, we have our gauges here. Those 2 camera angles again that can be changed. Up on the top, we have our hours. That can change to gas, how much gas you have, and your tilt. What attachment's on there? Back to the hours. Over here, we have our bank angles, sitting on a little bit of an incline right now. But we'll go ahead and go through all the options we have here on the screen. Hit that button down there, you can scroll. So we have the grading, swing, auto dig boost, heavy lift option you can turn on and off, 360 visibility. We also have the light flash and horn. Some operators like to turn these horns off. Not recommend doing that for safety reasons. Put this button down here. This is your 2D grading that comes stock on every CAT 320. 3D is an upgrade, but this is huge for digging trenches, making sure you're not going too deep, not far enough. Get over to this button here. So this is about your payload, what's going in that bucket. You can control the weight, how much you want. Looking for your dump area, bucket calibration, adjustment rate, payload setting, and grade on and off. Another cool feature, also get some training videos here on how to navigate all this technology and use it to maximize your efficiency. We'll go over here to our options button. Same thing, audio, air conditioning. You can Bluetooth your phone, music as well. Change these work tools, look at your gauges, grade, e-fence, auto assist, and payload that we just went through. Another information area, service, and that operator change that we previously mentioned. So we'll go back here. So this is the screen set up right now, just stock. This is what we'd be looking at. You can have your gauges come up on this screen as you're operating a machine. Very customizable for the operator, which is great. All right, so we're going to go ahead and crank this thing up. As I mentioned before, CAT is huge on operator comfortability. It's also a very quiet cab, so we'll go ahead and get this thing cranked up. Not sure how much of that you guys could hear, but very quiet. All right, we're cranked up, good to go. So this joystick here on my right, pull it back towards you, buck it up. To your right, opens it up. To the left, closes it back. Right here, go a little forward. Get those tracks moving a little bit. On my left side here, that's how we turn the cab. As I mentioned, you got these buttons here with this scroll and the two buttons on the back side as well. Same thing on the left side. So that was the first thing that came up on the screen as an operator. You can customize these depending on what attachment you have. We just have that factory bucket that we're going to go ahead and sit back on the ground. But very sweet cab, very customizable, very comfortable. So we're going to get into a couple specs of this Cat 320 here next.
All right. So here we're looking at a side-by-side comparison of the Cat 320 excavator against some of the other machines in this class. Starting at the top, you'll notice all these machines are running diesel. So we're really comparing efficiency and cost from that same baseline. Where the Cat 320 really starts to separate itself is its fuel consumption. At 2.67 gallons per hour, it's noticeably lower than others on the board. That may not sound huge at first, but over the lifetime of the machine, that difference is going to add up real fast in real dollars. Same idea with the def usage and maintenance costs. Everything is kept lean and efficient. Lower maintenance and repair costs per hour means less downtime and more predictable operating expenses, which is exactly what you want on your job site. Now, if you look at the total operating cost over the machine's lifetime, this is where it really becomes clear. The Cat 320 comes in at about $123,000, which is significantly lower than the rest. That's a big deal when you're thinking about long-term ownership and not just an upfront price. Hourly operating cost tells a similar story. Again, lower cost to run every single hour it's working, and that directly impacts your profitability on every job. And then down at the bottom, we've got CO2 output. The Cat 320 is producing 226 tons, which is a significant reduction compared to the others. So not only are you saving money, you're also running a more efficient and environmentally friendly and responsible machine. So when you put it all together, lower fuel consumption, lower maintenance and repair costs, and the lowest overall operating costs, the Cat 320 really stands out as the most balanced and cost-effective option in its class. It's not about cutting corners, it's about getting more done with less over the lifetime of your machine. Now I want to touch on the Customer Value Agreement, or CVA, offered by Yancey Brothers, because this is really where ownership becomes a lot easier. At a high level, this isn't just about maintaining the machine, it's about protecting your downtime and keeping you working. You've got dedicated condition monitoring analysts keeping an eye on your equipment in the background, so potential issues can be caught early on instead of turning into a costly downtime. On top of that, there's a strong service commitment, including a 2-day guarantee on next day parts or common repairs. That kind of turnaround can make a big difference when you're on a tight schedule. If something does come up, you're not chasing answers. You've got a dedicated CVA concierge you can call directly, which simplifies this whole process. And behind all of that is their dedicated support network. 45 designated trucks specifically for CVA customers ready to respond when needed. So overall, the CVA is really about peace of mind. It keeps your machine supported, your downtime minimized, and your operations moving.
Here we just have some extra notes on our CAT 320, starting off with our eFence technology as a virtual boundary system to avoid structure strikes. It's very important on a small, tight job site. We mentioned when we were in the cab that the cab is designed to have the most vision possible for the operator. This is a great upgrade as well. We have our CAT products and Vision Link in the CAT app. There you can view fleet connectivity, hours, location, idle percentage, maintenance scheduling, and much more. While we were in the cab, I showed you how you can go in and change operators and it saves their preferences. You can also go in and look at those operators' time clocks. We have our Quick Connect, which is my personal favorite and a big fan favorite. Unmatched ease of attachment changes. Just works with a hydraulic locking system. Very quick when using multiple attachments or going back and forth. In terms of electric machines, there are no plans to go fully electric yet, but hybridization and lower emissions packages are being evaluated, and that flows right into our sustainability. Extended maintenance intervals reduce fluid and filters by 15%, lowering life cycle CO2 impact. Very important, but that's also saving the customer a lot of money with those extended maintenance intervals. And finally, dealer support, backed by the CAT dealer support, connectivity, and parts operation, who do a great job. Here we're going to look at a few attachments for our CAT 320. Starting off with our tooth bucket, it's our most common attachment, used for excavation and trench jobs. See those teeth there on the front? You can also install a butter bar on those when you're doing some slope finishing jobs, give you a little bit of a smoother slope. Our hammer, as you can see in the picture, used to break up rock and concrete. Our thumb, as we previously mentioned, can be used for site clearing, but can also be used to keep some stuff in the bucket. Our grapple can also be used for some site clearing, but one of its good uses is logging and tree work. Our ripper, it's in the name, it rips up the ground, another demolition attachment. And then we have our ditching bucket there with the holes in the side, also called a tilt bucket. So if you tilt that thing sideways, let some water drain out of your bucket. The CAT 320 is a very versatile machine. Here we're going to look at how the CAT 320 can be used during all 7 phases of construction. First, we're going to look at site prep, topsoil stripping, site leveling, and clearing with the bucket and the thumb. Earthwork, excavation, trenching, and slope finishing using that Grade Assist feature we just talked about, giving you a very flat slope or a good-looking trench. Utilities, pipeline trenching and backfill works with tilt buckets and compact radius options. We're going to look at the tilt bucket here in a second. Structural, foundation excavating and footing prep, paving, subgrade contour shaping, and material handling. All of the buckets that come on the CAT 320 have a hookup to move materials around a job site quick and easy. Landscaping, final grading with the tilt rotator, and demolition using your hydraulic hammer, shear, or grapple attachment. Here we're going to look at our CAT 320 base model and compare it to some potential upgrades that you can get. Starting off with our engine, we have the CAT C 4.4 172 horsepower engine. There's no higher power available, but emission kits will vary by the region depending on those regulations. Grade Assist has been a great addition that CAT released. There you can either go 2D or 3D. In terms of our display, we have 8-inch screens that come standard or a 10-inch premium monitor. Auxiliary hydraulics, we have single flow and dual and high flow systems depending on the output you want that attachment to produce. Peyton mentioned our counterweights during his walk around. There we have the standard factory counterweight, or you can go heavier if you're adding couplers, thumbs, etc. Also, the boom and stick you see below, you will have an extra counterweight if you go for that long reach or 2-piece boom. In the cab, in terms of comfort, base is that mechanical seat. Upgrades include heated and ventilated seats, premium audio, but all cabs are the same size and very comfortable for the operator.
Wrapping things up, the CAT 320 excavator really checks all the boxes for us. It's efficient, it keeps operating costs down, and it's built to stay working instead of just sitting there on a lot. And with the support from Yancey Brothers behind it, we're not just getting a machine, we're getting a system that helps keep everything running smoothly day to day on a job site. At the end of the day, it just makes sense from both a performance and business standpoint. With that said, we want to thank you for your time.